It's time for Nicaraguan Name That Movie with Adam's buddy Oswaldo. See if you can guess which movie this famous line is from.
This go to 11.
If you said, this is Spinal Tap,
These go to 11.
you're correct. Now, back to the show.
Tammy and Xzibit are here. The podcast, Lasagna Ganja, is the pod. It's available wherever you find finer podcasts. And Rob Reiner's going to join us in about 19 minutes or so. So we'll do a little news, and then we'll talk to Rob.
All right. Yeah. So speaking of parental abuse, there is a father who is also changing his ways. Another one, Homer Simpson.
Oh, yeah.
So he very lightly in a recent episode basically admitted that he's going to stop strangling Bart.
Wow.
You know, that iconic move that he's been doing for the
I
last
was
34
done when they
years.
stopped doing Apu.
Oh,
With
yeah.
what's his name? I don't need cartoons to be woke. Cartoons live in a nether world. Everything, it's not like I could have been influenced by the Flintstones when I was a kid. Like, I'm going to move to Bedrock one day and drive a car with my feet, and own a dinosaur. And my garbage disposal will be a miniature dinosaur. Like, it's a cartoon. Leave it alone. I can't fly. Superman can fly. These are comic book characters. Leave it alone. You don't need to change with the times.
Well, let's watch the scene. So this is Homer and Marge meeting their new neighbor, where he kind of alludes to what's going on.
Whoa, that's quite a grip.
See, Marge? Strangling the boy has paid off. Just kidding. I don't do that anymore. Times have changed.
Times have changed.
Wow.
Now, I mean, look, I'm with you with the Apu thing. I personally never cared for the Homer strangling Bart gag.
Yeah.
And it was I never thought it was funny. I mean, sure, it was iconic, and he did it all the time. But
Yeah,
if that I
don't need it. I'm just saying I have a general disdain for societal whims making their way into things that have been around for a long time. I don't care if there's a brand, Aunt Jemima pancake. Maybe I'm talking to the wrong crowd here, but Uncle Ben's rice. I don't know. He was a guy. He invented a rice. Leave him alone. It's there.
Yes,
we like Uncle Ben.
I think when you try to when you buy a product. The product is the product. It's what's on the pack, the messaging. I think there is a sensitivity right now that is like, I don't know where it's going.
Team mascot, names,
Well,
but also it screws over sometimes this well-intentioned stuff. Like, I think Uncle Ben was a real guy, and he was a cook. It was like a slave cook. He was like a real cook, and he invented this rice, and it became very successful and popular.
Right.
You're stripping his legacy by taking him off of it.
Yeah, and he probably did. He probably was an uncle to someone. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. But I think when Aunt Jemima, when they made her get a perm, I was like, okay, okay, like, come on, like, you know what I'm saying? I get it. But yeah, I mean, if it's offensive, but I mean, now we're walking a fine line. Like, people are getting offended by the most craziest shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, there has to be some kind of something else. You know what I'm saying? That comes in and regulates.
Do you ever think about like any of your old songs that could?
Oh yeah.
Oh
dude, you listen to my albums, like, what? Man, it's like. Yeah, it's some pretty bad stuff on there. Yeah, compared to today's stuff. But I wouldn't go change it. I mean, this is what it was. You know what I'm saying?
That's the point.
That's what we're saying.
Yeah, we wouldn't change it. I mean, we also used to drive around in Chevy Novas with all metal parts and no seatbelts.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I was like, bro. Yeah, like there was no car seats. You know what I'm saying? Like we was just kind of back there. So nah, man, I don't do with the whole, woke stuff and all that stuff, because then it's a license for people to become offended for whatever reasons. And a lot of the stuff then, you didn't have the soapbox to be voicing your opinion to things, because basically your opinion didn't fucking matter.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like this is
Listen, if there was some version of Greta Thunberg, some snot-nosed 16-year-old who decided to pipe up. Everyone, in the 70s, would have been, hey, bitch, shut up. Have fun in the 9th grade. Keep your opinions to yourself.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's got an opinion in a soapbox now, and we're supposed to listen to them, even though they're literally juniors in high school.
Right.
All right.
Yeah,
what was the story with Uncle Ben? I want to know from Byron.
Well, while I was looking that up, I actually recently watched 8 Mile, and I love your scene at the lunch truck and that freestyle where you guys are battling. So, I mean, a few questions. First off, Eminem.
Yes.
So, what was your first what was the first time you heard of him, and like what was your first thought about?
Well, I come from the battle rap scene. When I first started, on the West Coast, it was like very small cliques of MCs, and we all used to go and like do these, like battles, like either at Unity or we would go up to the Wake Up Show with Tech and Sway, and we would just that was our only outlets. There was no internet. There was no place for us to really do that. And so in New York, they had different things, Lyricist Lounge, they had, mixtapes, and they had a vibrant scene, and LA had its own scene as well. So Eminem was very famous for going and being a battle rapper. And so, I've, even when he was spelled his name with the M and M, like the candy, you know what I'm saying? Like he was talented back then, and he was grooming himself. And so everybody was doing the same thing, grooming themselves. And you heard of him, because it was like to see a white guy with that much skill come into the scene was pretty amazing. And so when you met him, his reputation preceded him.
Right.
And so I just met him through that first. It wasn't we're going to work together and do all this stuff later. No, we all both came from the same kind of place. And so once he came for the Rap Olympics, and he was ready to throw in a towel at that time, but he was giving out tapes. One of the tapes from that the Rap Olympics got to Dre and Jimmy. Jimmy took it, to Dre, and then they called him in, and that was history. Yeah. So from there, I got to Dre through a different way, right? But we all ended up in the same kind of camp, and it was all for the same kind of push, and it was all for because we were a certain talent that we brought to that table with our rhymes. And so that's kind of how we got together and moved on it. But he's had a crazy story as well. So I'm glad I was in 8 Mile. I was glad I was able to work with him in the capacity that I have. Nothing but respect for Marshall and the rest of his team. So it's been crazy for all of us to kind of sit back because and look at what it's become, because we've never been able to sit and know, oh man, this is gonna be 10 times platinum right here.
Oh, sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like you don't know you're doing it until it's done. Right. And then when it goes out there to the world and it's received like that, you feel justification, you feel accomplishment. But by no chance whatsoever did we know that the things that we were doing were going to be received like that. I just wanted to beat all the other rappers in the room. I didn't know I was going to be looked at like, oh, you're going to be this. Yeah. We don't do it for that, though.
How important is freestyling versus like just the written lyric in rap? Like, I mean, because not all rappers are good freestyles, or are they?
Right. It depends on what your definition of freestyle is.
No.
When I write something, I call that a freestyle. Even though it's not coming off the top of my head, I can do that, but my writtens are always more complicated than my freestyles. I understand the fundamentals of rhyming, but for me, a freestyle means a free rhyme, meaning it can't come off the top of the head, but it can float into some written and then float back out to connect something else. Yeah. To me, that's freestyling. I'm better at that than coming off the top of the head. I can rhyme cat, rat, dog, bat. Frog, song, like we can do that.
Put a beat to that, Dawson.
Yeah. We can do that, but it depends on the artist. You know what I'm saying? Like I would give anything to see the new artist be a little more comprehensive.
I was just gonna ask, where rap is now. Are you okay with this? I mean, it's definitely changed so much. You have like the mumble rap stuff, and you have like all the new stuff. Like you've been in the game for so long. Where do you see it going?
I I think the education system has failed us. You know what I'm saying? Like comprehension is everything. And once people started communicating with emojis and farts and you know what I'm saying, and beeps and you know, in 30-second, you know, intervals, you know, 2 10-sentence, you know, like you're basically dumbing yourself down to communicate with this new language that doesn't give you much room for comprehension or, you know, or expansion, you know? So, yeah, I think that I can't criticize the new rappers because they're, look, you now you have to get to a person who's going to listen to 30 seconds of what you have to say and try to put a whole album into that is impossible. So, you know, you look at the way the albums are put together, there's 3 or 4 songs, 5 songs that you want to listen to when there may be 10 songs, 12 songs. You don't get to open the CD or the record. You don't get to read the producers. There's no emotional investment in the music. Like when we were putting music out, you had the CD cover, the album cover, cassette. Oh, yeah. You get to open it. You get to see who produced it.
It's
you
like
get
a
to
ceremony.
Read the lyrics.
Yeah.
You know, you're not guessing. You're not, you know.
Right.
You know, a lot of the things that made us have 10, 15, 20, 30-year-long careers doesn't exist anymore. So imagine what it's going to be like 10 years from now when they try to do, they're going to be like, you know how at the end of the award shows, they show all the people that died that year. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, the memorial.
Like people are going to be like, who is, you know what I'm saying? They're going to have
getting there, yeah.
Yeah, like who's going to go, who, do you remember that? Like,
I'm there with all the presenters now, so I don't even know.
Right. It's going to be very difficult to be able to say, okay, now, I don't know if they're doing it on purpose or not, but hip-hop, it doesn't have the staying power that it used to have. And it's dominated for the last, everything. You see country music having elements of hip-hop. You see pop music. When's the last time you saw a rock band that didn't have a hip-hop element to it? Like, I'm sick of hip-hop. And I love hip-hop, you know what I'm saying? I want to see a rock band come out and steamroll. When's the last time we had, you know what I'm saying, AC/DC or a, you know what I'm saying, or you know, anything that's, you know, Limp Bizkit or fucking Linkin Park or, you know, like I'll take one of those, you know, because right now I think the music itself isn't a good representation of what we're supposed to be. Not taking anything away from these kids because they're feeding their families. They're not in the street. They're not doing. Some of them aren't doing anything illegal, but I still think that there's a real path right now for somebody to come out with some real content and have that staying power and show that it's possible.
We're hungry for it, yeah.
I think Rob Reiner's popped on. Oh, okay. So maybe we'll tweak the news a little bit short.
You have Uncle Ben stuff?
Yeah, Uncle Ben, the original Uncle Ben was a farmer, and the company asked a chef and a waiter named Frank Brown to be the face, and he was a black man. So says 26-year-old Byron. Yeah, we got that part. That's why we're talking about him. I know
the fictional Uncle Ben was a black man.
Yeah, the original. But Chef Boyardee, white guy. There you go, Byron. Now you know. All right, the podcast is called Lasagna Ganja.
Yes.
It's available wherever you find the finer podcast. Tammy, Xzibit. Thank you guys so much for coming in. Fun conversation.
Yes.